Hello and welcome to the Discover Dayton podcast, the show that's all about the Gem City's past, present, and future. Today I'm excited to talk about all three of those time periods with Emma Smales, owner of Smales Pretzel Bakery on Xenia Avenue here in Dayton. Emma not only owns and runs this 113-year-old bakery, she's also a birth outcomes manager at Dayton and Montgomery County Public Health. Join me as I talk with her and learn more about her and her business. Hello and welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I asked you on the show today to talk about Smales Pretzel Bakery, but owning a business isn't even your full-time job, or at least it's not your only full-time job, I should say, from what I understand. So can you maybe first talk a little bit about what you do at Montgomery County Public Health?
Sure. Yeah. About 8 months ago, I started at Dayton Public Health, Dayton, Montgomery County as the birth outcomes manager. So I oversee grant programs that work to reduce infant mortality in Montgomery County.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, so moving on to what is arguably my favorite baked good, I wanted to start by saying that I love your pretzels, and I grew up loving Smales pretzels because my dad, he would always bring them home all the time because he loved pretzels too. So I'm just curious, first of all, what it was like growing up around such a Dayton institution and having that, be in your family for your whole life.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting because I didn't grow up here. So my dad moved to Los Angeles in the, I want to say early to mid 80s. And that's where he met my mom, who is from Los Angeles. And so I grew up most of my life in Los Angeles County. And we moved back here when I was 8. So we lived in Miamisburg, and my dad worked at the bakery then when my uncle owned it. And then my parents got divorced. So my mom and my sister and I moved back to California. And so honestly, I didn't grow up a ton around it. I mean, there was a little bit, like when we would come back and visit for the summers, we would work in the bakery. And at the time, I just thought it was like hot and hard work.
Right.
Because if you've ever been in the bakery in the summer, it is very, very warm in there. And so it's not, ideal way to spend a summer for a 13-year-old, but we would, help the customers, and my dad would give us some money. And at the time we had a lunch cart that would come by, which I don't know if you remember those, but
no,
it was like this little truck that would stop in and you would get to pick whatever for lunch.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. It's a very Midwest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get to pick whatever we wanted for lunch. And then we would go straight to like the pool afterwards, like either Christopher Club or when the Moraine had that big, well, I don't remember what it was called, but had like the lazy river and all of that.
Oh yeah.
So because the bakery closed, we close at 1 or 2, we would get to leave and go straight to the pool. So honestly, that was my memory. Those are my memories
Gotcha.
Of the bakery as a kid. So it wasn't like, I mean, I joke that whenever I need to teach someone how to twist a pretzel, I'm like the worst person to teach them because I don't remember learning it. I just have always somehow known how to twist a pretzel. And so I make my husband teach new employees how to twist because he had to learn as an adult and I just don't remember. So, I mean, it was definitely part of who I was, but I don't think I understood the like history and the like how much people loved it until I was, more of an adult.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I didn't realize that about where you were growing up and everything. That's cool. Well, I do want to get to the history of the bakery in a second, but before that, I saw your Pachacacha in person back in 2018. So I know that running the business wasn't on your to-do list initially after college. So can you explain how you became the owner?
Yeah, I think I blacked out during that PK. There were so many people there. It was frightening. But
you did great, but
thank you. I honestly have no memory of it. So I went to college in Northern California. I got my degrees in sociology and women's and gender studies. And then I moved to Melbourne, Australia for a little while. And then I moved back and I was sort of just floating around. Ended up going to grad school and got my master's in public health. During my time in grad school, like the last year, I came out to visit my dad here in Dayton because I hadn't seen him in probably like 5 or 6 years. He came to my college graduation, but I hadn't seen him since then. So I came out to visit, and the bakery was in sort of rougher shape than I remembered it. Mm-hmm. Also, my dad had struggled with addiction most of his life, and he was in sort of a really bad place at that time.
Gotcha.
And I realized that if I didn't come back, the bakery probably wouldn't make it much longer. So I had a real heart-to-heart with my then boyfriend and basically was like, after graduation, I think I have to move to Dayton and take over this pretzel bakery. You don't have to come with me. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone. And then he proposed a few months later. So I took that as he was all in.
Nice.
So yeah, I graduated in May, and then at the end of May, and then we drove to Dayton at the end of June.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of crazy. Had no idea what to expect. We didn't know how much I had no idea how much the bakery made every year. My dad, there was no cash register, there were no records really. Mm-hmm. So we were just like, well, hopefully it can support us.
Wow.
and we drove across country, rented an apartment sight unseen, and went for it.
That's a big leap of faith, but I'm glad you did it. Thank you.
It worked out.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious about the history before that, because it's over 100 years old. Can you give us a little history about the bakery and how it came about in the first place?
Yeah. So there's some stories about the very beginning. So I just take I don't know how accurate the beginning is, but from what I understand, my great-great-grandfather came over from Germany when he was a little boy, and him and his brothers all kind of got into some kind of baking. And so there was City Pretzels was in existence in the early or mid 1910, 1915, somewhere in there. It started around 1905, but it hopped around to different locations. Mm-hmm. And then in 1926, my great-grandmother, so my great-great-grandfather's daughter, who I'm named after, Emma Smales, she found the location on Xenia Avenue, and basically got her dad and his business partner to reconcile. They had a falling out because I believe the story is my great-great-grandfather went up to Indian Lake for the summer and didn't come back and left his business partner to run the bakery all summer. And he didn't like that, which.
Sure. That's understandable.
Yeah. So they had a falling out. So she sort of got them back together and said, hey, we have this location and we're doing this again. So figure it out. And so she had married Lawrence Smales. Her last name was Schaff, but she had married Lawrence Smales, and changed the name to Smales Pretzel Bakery at that point.
I was wondering. So I thought maybe you were talking about a different competing pretzel place at first, but so that was the original name, was Gem City Pretzels.
So the original name was Gem City Pretzels, and then when my great grandma kind of started it again, restarted it, it was Smales Pretzel Bakery, and that was 1926 on Xenia Avenue.
Gotcha. Okay.
So then my great grandmother owned it until she was pretty well into her 80s. And then my grandpa took it over. And then after my grandpa took it over, my uncle took it over. And then after my uncle took it over, my dad took it. And then from my dad to me.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. And I've forgotten about this, but I had always known it as Smales, and I've seen, I know that it's how you say it. People locally don't necessarily call it that though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard Smalley's is the most common. Like people like to put a CH, like Schmales. Yeah, I've heard a ton of different pronunciations. I was actually at press one day, and two people in front of me were arguing about how to say it. And the barista knew me, and she was just like smiling, and she was like looking at me, and I was like, "It's fine, just let them argue." Yeah, so it is Smales. And actually people in the Midwest it's easier for them to say it. In California, people had a hard time with that A.
Interesting. Okay.
They couldn't do it, but
well, so you've owned it now for almost 7 years, I think. Is that right?
We took over in 2015, so I guess it's 6 years.
Okay.
No, today you're right. It'll be 7 years in like July.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's crazy.
So in that period of time, what changes have you made since becoming owner?
Yeah, we've done a lot. So when we first got here, the pretzel rolling machine, it's what, like, you put the dough in, it extrudes it, and then it rolls it into like a noodle so we can twist them. Mm-hmm. It'd been there since the 60s, and it only worked for hard pretzels. We couldn't adjust it any longer to make like the longer noodles. And so we were hand rolling every soft pretzel.
Wow.
And hand rolling is super labor intensive. And it takes a lot of skill. Like, it's not something you can teach someone really quickly. So we knew we needed to get a new pretzel roller. That was sort of the first thing, but they're really hard to find. Everything is like so specialized, everything's so niche, and it's so hard to find things. Like, a lot of the stuff we have was built specifically for us. We had people who would make like wood paddles for it. I mean, I've had everything basically custom made.
Wow.
In there, because it's just not, it wasn't set up, obviously if you set up a kitchen now, you would use just standard commercial baking things, and that's not what they did in 1926.
Sure.
So we were searching all over for this machine, and you can find $1 million ones for like Snyder's pretzel would use, but finding one that was within our price range was really hard. So we actually used our honeymoon in 2016. When we got married, we flew from LA, where we got married, to Philadelphia, and looked at this pretzel machine that this guy in Reading, Pennsylvania makes. He makes like 4 a year.
Wow.
And so
super romantic there.
Yes. Yeah. So we ended up purchasing that machine and got that installed in October of 2016. Mm-hmm. And then so that was the first big change. That machine's about $40,000. Wow. And it's funny because we couldn't get a loan from the bank for it because my dad had never been an LLC. He was a sole proprietor. So when I LLC'd the business, they considered it a new business.
Wow.
And they wouldn't give us a line of credit for the 40 grand. And I was like, please, like, so
that's frustrating.
So my mom took a loan out on her 401k for us to buy that machine, which was like so nice. I know. Yeah. This is what people don't understand about small business. It's such a roller coaster all the time.
Oh yeah, sure.
So that was the first big change. And that allowed us to do just bigger orders of soft pretzels because we could get them out faster. Mm-hmm. And then it also made making hard pretzels easier, and we had to hire staff. So we worked on that. We started doing mailing hard pretzels again, which my dad had stopped doing. we started putting hard pretzels back in the grocery stores. So Dorothy Lane Market and Dots and Arrowine, which my uncle had done, but my dad hadn't done in a long time. We had to rebuild a wall. We had to replace the roof.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean,
and you have a
we
cash
redid
register
the
now too,
entire
right?
front room of the bakery. So, I mean, yeah, probably the first, I would say 3 years, we just put all the money back into the bakery to make it like a functioning space.
Well, I've been in there before and after, and it's definitely, it looks awesome now. So you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
And I take it you have a cash register now too?
Yes, we have a full POS.
There you go.
Point of sale system with a cash register, and, you know, everything's above board now.
That's great.
Yes, so that was definitely a big shift, was just getting everything working like a normal business. I always say it's funny because I actually worked in restaurants and coffee shops and bakeries all through school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, thank God I did, because I probably learned more for the bakery doing those jobs while I was getting degrees than anything I learned in my degrees
Sure.
for that. So
I can imagine.
It worked out.
So let's talk about the pretzels themselves. And I don't know if you can answer this or not, but my first question is, do you have any idea how much the soft pretzel recipes changed over the years, or if it's changed at all?
There was never a recipe.
Really?
So I wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean, the ingredients haven't changed, but there was never like put this much flour and this much water and this much yeast.
That's surprising.
It was like, it was by feel, which sounds crazy now, but you would just know when the dough was done by how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, we have recipes in place, and ratios and all those things. But when I got there, I was the only one who could make doughs for a while, because you had to know what it felt. You had to feel it to know it was done. So the ingredients haven't changed. I mean, I believe the yeast has changed, because they used to use like live yeast.
Oh, okay.
And now that you can't really get that anymore. So we use, just the regular yeast. But besides that, it's always been the same. I mean, it's not hard. It's only flour, water, and yeast, and then salt on the top. So it's not like there's a ton of ingredients to change.
Sure. Well, that makes sense. Well, my favorite thing to do, of course, is to actually come into the store and get them while they're still hot and fresh. But I know you sell other kinds of pretzels too. What are all the different types of pretzels that you sell? And then I think maybe you did mention some places people can get them, but are there any other places they can find them?
Yeah, so we do obviously the soft pretzels, and then we have hard pretzels. We have our traditional hard pretzels, which is what everyone kind of knows and remembers. And then we also have our Bavarian style, which is, it's the same hard pretzel recipe. It's just when we boil them, they get boiled in the same water and lye as the soft pretzels, so it gives them that darker color. Okay. The regular hard pretzels are boiled in like caustic soda, and that doesn't turn them that doesn't give them that like shiny dark color that the lye gives pretzels. So that's the difference in our hard pretzels. The regular hard pretzels, you can get it at Dots, Arrowine, Dorothy Lane Market. There's a few other places that I always.
Are you still in
Kramer's?
Okay.
Road Dog, which is like gas stations up in Troy.
Oh, okay.
Our old manager is the food manager for Road Dog. So, and then our other old manager is working at Kramer. Anyway, all of our old employees, when they go to other places, they somehow bring our pretzels. So.
Well, that's nice.
I think those are the main ones. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anyone.
I had seen maybe on your website, Fifth Street Brewpub too. Is it still there?
Yes. So Fifth Street Brewpub has our soft pretzels. So it's actually funny because we obviously sell their beer cheese. Mm-hmm. So they make beer cheese for us every few days, and we just barter. I don't think like,
oh wow, nice.
We just switch. And I was like, I just feel like it's such a small business thing to do. And maybe it's a Dayton thing. I don't know. But we just like drop off pretzels and grab cheese and we just call it even.
That's awesome.
So if you ever wondered what our soft pretzel tastes deep fried, that's how they make them. So
okay. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so are there any exciting things on the horizon for Smales in the near future, or any plans for? I don't think I've ever seen your pretzel truck, but I know that you guys had one or have one. I don't know. Is you guys still doing that?
Yeah. So the pretzel truck is mostly available for like private events.
Okay.
So it's honestly just the only way to be cost effective with it is to do private events. So we did, what did we do? A few weeks ago, we were in we were in Tip City for their like early St. Patrick's Day, like beer crawl.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a wedding booked this fall. We're going to be at Grunder in a couple weeks. Grunder Landscaping has us come out every few months just for like employee appreciation.
Oh, cool.
We've done like a few hospitals up north for like Nurse Appreciation Day. So yeah, we're really doing mostly just private events. So if anyone's interested, they can go to our website. There's a form to fill out if you're interested in booking.
Great. Okay. So,
Oh, and I think we're going to be working with the arcade for their market days that they're calling, and hopefully do some vendoring down there.
oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because Smales used to be in the arcade, right?
Yeah, we were. I don't know exactly what year we went into the arcade, but I found ads in Dayton Daily News as early as like the 40s, I believe.
Wow.
And then we were there till it closed.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so I know too that in addition to all your day jobs, you're also a political activist. I'm curious, what are some issues that are most important to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because probably since becoming a mom, I feel like I've taken a little bit of a step back from that stuff just because, and obviously a pandemic and being in public health. So it's been a crazy few years.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But right now, I'm actually working on housing policy through my job as a way to lower infant mortality rates. So that's something I'm learning a lot about and really excited to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course my like core issue will always be women's rights and abortion rights and things like that. So that's always a fight that we're fighting.
Yeah, sadly, that's true. Yeah. So, well, thank you for doing that. So, do you want to share maybe your website and any places that people could find you on social media?
Sure. So our website is smalespretzels.com. Our Instagram is Smales Pretzel Bakery, and I think that's the same as our Facebook, Smales Pretzel Bakery. And yeah, we're pretty active on social media. That was one thing that was like a big deal to me because we have a lot of older customers. As people have been coming for a long time, and I realized we had to figure out how to bring in younger people at some point. So I've tried to really focus on social media and trying to get people to come down to Xenia Avenue and see us. So yeah, I would love people to follow us.
Awesome. And you guys aren't on TikTok, are you? Because I would love to see you guys on there.
I'm not cool enough for TikTok, but
I'm sure you are.
As we hire like 20-year-olds, we'll see what we can do.
All right. That sounds good. Well, before I let you go, you guys have some cool merch too now, right?
Yeah, we actually work with my friend Val from Hopscotch Design. You might know her from Sugar Camp, Dayton.
Oh, yeah.
She does all of our designs. So we'll have a brand new every year for Pretzel Day, which is April 26th, National Pretzel Day. We do we give out free pretzel to every person that comes in, and we have a special t-shirt. So that we just got that from the printer and I'm really excited. It's so cute. And we only make about 50 of them. So they're just limited run. And you can only get them the day of on Pretzel Day. And then whatever's left, we put it on the website.
Okay. I didn't know that. I'm glad I asked because now I need to be there for that.
So, yes, plan ahead.
Thank you. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show and talking with me. I really appreciate it. And I can't thank you enough for keeping the bakery going. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right, that's about it for this episode, but be sure to check out Smales Pretzel Bakery at 210 Xenia Avenue or any of the other places Emma talked about where Smales Pretzels are sold. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, please give the podcast a review on Apple or Facebook and follow on social media. Visit discoverdaytonpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again, and stay funky, Dayton.